ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा। So welcome everyone. We are discussing from first canto Srimad Bhagvatam and we are on chapter 5 and we have completed I think till 18 verses. Anybody remembers? This chapter is entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam. So I think we were discussing 19th Jugupsitam Dharma Kritenu Shashtaha. What's this verse? 15th, okay. So we were on 15th verse. So far we have discussed how Narad Muni, Vyasdev was in complete despondency because he was not feeling satisfied even after compiling all the Vedas, all the literatures, Upanishads, Puranas, everything he had compiled, but still he was not satisfied. And then he started contemplating. In the last chapter we heard, Kimva Bhagavata Dharmana Prayena Nirupita Priya Paramahamsanam Taevahi Achyuta Priya. So he started thinking, is it that I have not described Bhagavad Dharma properly, which is satisfying to Krishna and which is satisfying to the devotees? As he was contemplating, Narad Muni, his spiritual master, arrived and he Vyasdev offered respects to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni first glorified Vyasdev. And he said, are you satisfied with identifying with body and the mind? So Vyasdev, he submitted himself, he surrendered to Narad Muni that yes, whatever you are saying is right. I am not feeling satisfied. And only you can answer my doubts. You can answer my questions. Because you are like, anybody remembers Vyasdev, Narad Muni, Vyasdev compares Narad Muni to three things.
Sun, air, and super soul.
Sun, air, and super soul. Yes. So these three things, Vyasdev says, oh, you are like sun, you can illuminate the hearts of everyone. You are like air, you know everything, you are there inside of everyone, and you are like super soul, aware of the movements of each and every living entity. So please explain, please answer my doubts. And Vyasdev, first he starts by condemning Narad Muni. Narad Muni starts by condemning Vyasdev. First he says, anything which is not glorifying Krishna, one cannot be happy with that, even if it is karma. But if it is not offered to Krishna, it is waste. Naishkarmyam apyachyuta bhava varchitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. And then in the 15th verse, we were discussing. So I'll recite this verse again. Jugupsitam dharma kritenu shashata You all can unmute yourself and like
युगुप्सितं धर्म कृतेऽनुशासितम्
स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रमः
स्वभावरक्तस्य
स्वभावरक्तस्य
महामिति
यद्वाक्यतो धर्म इतीतरस्थितो
यद्वाक्यतो
यद्वाक्यतो धर्म
धर्मीतरस्थितो
इतीतरस्थितो
न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः
न
न
मन्यते
मन्यते
तस्य
तस्य
निवारणं जनः.
निवारणम्
Translation, somebody can read.
The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions.
Okay. So first word he says is Jugupsitam. You have done a very condemned task. Verily condemned. Jugupsitam. Why? Swabhavaraktasya. People are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have given them dharma krite. You have given them a dharmic way to enjoy. You have encouraged them to enjoy in a dharmic way. It is mahan vyatikrama. It is quite unreasonable. It is mahan vyatikrama. Prabhupada writes it is greatly unreasonable. In the purport, in the word-to-word translation, Prabhupada writes, great unmiserable work you have done, unreasonable work you have done. And you know what will happen? Yad vakyato, because you are telling this, they are guided by your instructions. And dharma iti tarah sthitaha. So what they will do? They will not accept Krishna. They will do all the activities of sense gratification in the name of dharma. Dharma iti tarasthito na manyate tasya nivaranam jana, and they will hardly care for the prohibitions. Because Vyasdev, he thought slowly by engaging in sense gratification, they will stop engaging in sense gratification because they will be forced to follow prohibitions. But the nature of sense gratification is there is nothing like controlled sense gratification in this world. When people say control, सब कुछ control में करना चाहिए, enjoy in a controlled way, but there is nothing like controlled sense gratification. The nature of sense gratification is the more you indulge, the more it will push you to do more, engage in sense gratification more and more. It is like putting ghee in fire. Therefore, Narad Muni is saying you have given them a path of destruction. Actually, they will engage in sense gratification more and more. So therefore, you have done a great condemned task. Jugupsitam. Because in the previous verse, Vyasdev said, Narad Muni said, whatever you desire to describe that is separate in the vision from the Lord simply reacts. Anything you do separately from Krishna, it will give reaction only. So Vyasdev may defend his compilation by saying that actually, what I have done? I have tried to bring people close to Krishna by engaging their nature. What is the nature of people? People naturally want to do sense gratification. So I have given them, I have engaged their nature. So actually what Vyasdev is telling, what he has done a bridge preaching, because people are not ready for direct Krishna consciousness, I will engage their nature. Okay, you'd like to do this, you do it in a dharmic way. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, I wrote Mahabharata and all the other works so that people can ultimately hear the glories. And that's why first I have promoted this materialistic happiness. Why? Because Mahabharata is all about dharma, artha, kama and moksha. But people focus on dharma, artha, kama more and they forget moksha. And that is all the way in the Kali Yuga. It's all the more prominent. Nobody likes to engage in moksha, you know. So therefore, Vyasdev says that, I have presented material happiness in these works so that ultimately they may hear about Krishna. That is the purpose of Mahabharata. That is the purpose of all the Vedic scriptures. Because generally, if you tell somebody directly, oh, you take to Krishna consciousness, they will not take. Nobody likes to take bhakti. So Vyasdev is trying to do a bridge preaching here. He is very nicely presenting the philosophy in a package. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he told a story that generally we have heard that children, they don't like to eat medicine. So mother, what she did, she put that medicine in a laddu and gave to the child. And she said, I'm going, so please you eat this fruit. She said it is a fruit, So please eat this fruit and I'll come back. So this mother went by, and then the child, and when she returned, she asked, वो लड्डू खाया कि नहीं? वो fruit, वो फल खाया? So child said, yes, वो फल तो खा लिया, लेकिन वो बीज था ना, उसमें उसको फेंक दिया. So that is what happens. Beej means the medicine he threw away. So that is what people do in Kali Yuga. They will take all the sense gratification and they'll spit out the essence. That is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. That is the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Vyasdev said, oh, actually I presented all this so that people can take to spiritual life. Ultimately, that's my intention. But Narad Muni says, that's true. Whatever you have thought is right. But what is the problem? Narad Muni quotes a verse from Vidura's instructions to Vidura's conversation with Uddhava, with Maitreya in the third canto. There, Maitreya, Vidura is telling to Maitreya, "O Maitreya, your friend Vyasadev described the glories of the Lord, and in that work he attracted men's attention to the topics of the Lord through topics of material happiness." And that's what Vidura said. But you know what you have done? Narad Muni is telling to Vyasadev, I know your intentions, but in order to make people accept worship of the Lord, you have taught what is condemned. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just getting a call again and again. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So he says that, actually you have done this thing in a right consciousness, but you have done it in a wrong way. Therefore, you have done a condemned activity. Because Narad Muni says, this is a commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. People, materialistic people, their impressions to enjoy sense gratification is so strong that they will take only sense gratificatory part, they will not take the essence. Therefore, although your intention was to help them, but actually, what you have done, you have injured them more. Anybody remembers any story which Prabhupada would tell to describe that a person may do a wrong thing, but in right consciousness? Anybody remembers any story? Prabhupada would tell many times how people, they do something thinking that I am doing the right thing for this person, but Actually, they do a wrong, they harm other person. Prabhupada tells a story of a small boy and his sister. किसी को याद है? The small boy was suffering from typhoid. अभी याद है? So actually, this boy was suffering from typhoid, and the doctor told इसको कुछ भी तला हुआ नहीं देना है. No fried item should be given. So mother, she was going for some work. So she told her daughter that, look, I am going away for some time. Please take care of your brother properly. She said, okay, aap chinta mat karo, aap jao, I'll take care. So as the mother was not there, so brother, he told, you love me, na? Yes, she said, yes, I love you. I'll do anything. You tell me, what do you want? So the brother says, मुझे वो पकोड़ा खाना है. बोले नहीं, मम्मी ने मना किया है पकोड़ा खाने से. She said, no, you love me, na? Please give me that pakoda, na? So he was again and again telling, please, I want it, I want. So what she did, she cooked pakodas in right consciousness. What was the intention? To please her brother. But when this brother ate the pakoda, he became more sick. So that's because the reason was this sister didn't know what she is doing to her brother. So as Narad Muni is telling, actually your intention was to help people, but actually you have injured them more. How you have injured them? Because he says, material minded men, prakrita, those who are material minded, they will think that I am following Vyasadeva. But they will think that why should I give up all the sense gratificatory activities? It is told by Vyasadeva only. I will do it regularly. And in the end, I will think about taking to spiritual life. They will never take to spiritual life. They will never think Sarva Dharman Parityajya. They will take all the other dharmas because that is what they like. And they will never take to spiritual life. They will think that all these statements of the scriptures, they are only outlined for enjoyment. Why should I give up sense gratification? So that is what Prabhupada writes. That's what Chakravarti Thakur writes. So Prabhupada writes in the purport. Somebody can read the purport.
Srila Vyasdeva's compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performance of fruitive activities as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literatures is condemned herewith by Srila Narada. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. There are no sense of responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of the clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home. To revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering from 84 lakh species is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned soul. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life, and as such, the only occupation of a human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God.
Okay.
Under the circumstances.
Okay, Proj. Thank you. Yeah. So here, Prabhupada, he describes the same thing. So Prabhupada, so Vyasadev's compilation is condemned because he has given a bona fide way of sense gratification. Nobody in the world, in this material world, likes to give up sense gratification because that is the original purpose why we came to this material world. We wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. Krishna bhuliya ji wo bhogwancha kare. That's why we have given up all the association of Krishna. So therefore Prabhupada writes, actually all these living entities, especially humans, they have no responsibility. They are not responsible. They are not thinking that this human form is very, very precious. And then Prabhupada writes a very important line. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. This we see very, very commonly. In the name of religious functions, people, they engage in sense gratification. Can anybody give any example of this? How in the name of religion, how in the name of religious functions, festivals, people do sense gratification? Very commonly.
Like many festivals, Prabhuji. Durga Puja or Ganesh festival, you can say many festivals.
So in Ganesh
Like
festival,
they get the music, like they keep the music of the filmy songs or the all.
Yes, so that is what is going on. पीछे Bollywood song बजता रहता है and Ganpati's and Ganpati unka वाहन is thinking ये लोग क्या करने आए हैं? They have not even seen us. We are waiting for half an hour और ये लोग हमको देख ही नहीं रहे. So Ganpati pandals, they are made in different ways. Sometimes they put cricket bat in the hand of Ganpati and pad, and I think I had shown this video that one time they made a pandal of Ganpati in the shape of a liquor bar.
And Ganpati ji is holding all the liquor.
I had shown that video, I think. And in the Navaratra, what happens? Dandiya. In the name of worship of Durga, they are doing all type of sense gratification. The most obnoxious things happen in Navaratra. So therefore, Vyasadeva is telling, Narad Muni is telling, you have given them a bona fide of sense gratification. Prabhupada writes, at a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion were too much rampant, the Lord incarnated as Buddha. That's why Lord appeared. Nindasi yagya videraha shruti jatam sadaya ridaya darashit pashubhatam keshava dhrita buddha sharira jai jagadisha hare. So whenever people, they take shelter of the scriptures and they do excessive sense gratification, then Lord has to appear. So this was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before goddess in the name of dharma, because in some Vedic literature such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating. Anybody can tell me what is the purpose behind the recommendation, a concession? Why the scriptures, they tell that, okay, you can eat animal flesh. Under what circumstances it can be eaten? Can anybody tell? If somebody asks,
when there is a war situation and nothing was left.
Okay, nothing is available in the emergency times.
It
Okay.
is a matter of living.
Okay, that is the extreme emergency, apat. That is the apad dharma. Okay, but what if somebody wants to eat whenever, even if there is no apad dharma? So why is this?
Go to the demigods and you can have something like Kali Ma.
Okay, so
sacrifice.
Okay, anything else? Anything else? Anybody else would like to tell?
Like there is a mention that they can cut and offer meat to Durga Devi and eat maybe once a month or at some specific, only at a specific time. So the purpose of that is that they refrain at the other times.
Okay, so they refrain from regular killing. They have to do it regular, only on the specific days, on Amavasya day, not any animal, only a goat. And they have to do it outside the city. And then while chanting, while cutting, you have to see in the eyes of that animal. And while cutting that animal, you have to chant one mantra. Anybody knows the meaning of the mantra or verse itself? What the person has to tell to the animal who is about to be killed?
This
He has
life
to
I
take
kill
that
you,
birth.
next life you will
Yeah.
kill me like that.
So he has to take the next birth as an animal. I am killing you in this life. You have the right to kill me in the next life. Mam saha bhakshayita amutra yasyam aham khidamyaham yasyam mamsatvam pravadanti manishinah. You know, ये मांस word कहाँ से आया? यहाँ से आया है. मांसह, मेरे जैसा, मैं जैसा आपके साथ कर रहा हूँ. You have the right to do the same with me. You know, mansah, mansahar, you know, mansa. So that's how the scriptures, when they give some concession, there is a reason behind it. It is not a recommendation, it is a concession. So that's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. And then Prabhupada writes further. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. Materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. So therefore, whatever we read in the scriptures, ultimately it is to come close to Krishna. All the Vedic injunctions, Smartavya Satatam Vishnu Vismartavyo na Jatuchit Sarve Vidhi Nishedhasyu Retayoreva Kinkaraha. All the rules and regulations mentioned in the scriptures, they are meant for this purpose only. Prabhupada writes, according to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn livelihood because of some corporeal defect. You know, this is very interesting. The people, they say, "Arey, tum shadi brahmachari kyun ban raha hai? Why are you becoming a sannyasi? Arey, you are an educated person, you are healthy. Arey, who should join all these things? Those who can't do much." That is a natural, you know, tendency of people. That is how they react. Who should dedicate life to God? वो जो इस संसार में कुछ नहीं कर सकते ना, वो लोग अगर join कर लेते हैं, वो लोग साधु बन जाते हैं तो चलेगा, you know. So that's what happens. Whenever somebody joins temple, parents say, you are educated, you are competent enough. Why are you doing it? Why are you becoming a sadhu? So that's what Prabhupada writes. So-called renounced order, you know, so-called renounced order. That's not the actual renounced order. If somebody is becoming a sadhu because thinking that, oh, I have so many other things to do, I don't want to engage in all that, let me become a sadhu so that I can eat peacefully. That is not recommended. So Prabhupada writes, the whole idea of Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instruction of Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, Prabhupada mentions that Vyasadeva has written Mahabharata, but the purpose of writing Mahabharata is to give the essence, that is the Bhagavad Gita. But Narad Muni says, no, this is not recommended. This compromising spirit is directly condemned by Vyasadeva because people are materialistic, they are more attracted to, and it is natural, right? Even among devotees, when the topics of politics and some conflict arise, and cricket, and then for that matter even nationalism, it is so attractive, you know. So Prabhupada writes, men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, philanthropic activities mentioned in Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely Bhagavad Gita. So therefore, we should be very, very careful to what extent we are delving into all these matters, because they are naturally very, very attractive. Topics of politics, sociology, philanthropy, they are very attractive. Nationalism, we have to be really grounded, and we have to be really very much careful of to what extent we should enter this, you know, all these things. Otherwise, it is very easy to get distracted from the main path of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada writes, a patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to eat acceptables which is forbidden from him. Yeah, this is a very interesting thing, you know. A person who is diabetic, he likes to eat sweets more. And we have seen it personally many times. जिसको डायबिटीज होता है उसको स्वीट बहुत अच्छा लगता है. कुछ बीमार हुआ उसको बोला पकोड़ा नहीं खाना है, उसको पकोड़ा ही अच्छा लगेगा. You know. So that's a natural tendency. Actually, that's what Ayurveda also says. जो जिसके लिए harmful है, he likes to eat that more. He is attracted to that more. So therefore, people, they are naturally engaging in dharma, artha, kama, although it is forbidden from them, because that is the nature. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also said the man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his education, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. Which verse in Bhagavad Gita says this? A man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. Anybody remembers this verse?
प्रभु जी पीछे कुछ आवाज आ रहा है. ठक ठक ठक.
Actually, मेरे यहाँ पे I am not in Mumbai, so you will have to bear with that. कुछ construction work चल रहा है. Sorry. So yeah, in Bhagavad Gita it is said. So this is Shreyan Swadharmo Viguna Paradharma Sunushtita Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhayava. Better to engage in the occupational duty, because gradually one will give up the attraction for it by engaging in Krishna consciousness. So then Vyasdev, Narad Muni continues. We will recite the next verse. Vichakshano asyarhati veditum vibho anantaparasya nivrittitah sukham
अनन्तपारस्य निवृत्तः सुखम्
pravartamanasya gunairanatmana
प्रौरत्यमानस्य गुणरत्मना
tato bhavan darshaya cheshtitam vibho.
ततो भवान् दर्शयो चेष्टितं विभोः.
The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality retired from the activities of material happiness deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord.
Okay. So so far Narad Muni has said, why have you given them a bona fide way of sense gratification? Actually, these topics of dharma, artha, kama and moksha, they can never satisfy a person. And that is what Vidura tells Maitreya. In the third canto, this story comes that when Vidura, he met Maitreya, so he said, please tell me about Krishna. I want to hear about the topics of Krishna. So Maitreya said, Arey, you are the son of Vyasdev. You must have heard a lot from him, right? But Vidura says, yes, I have heard lots of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But all those things, they have not satisfied me. Paravaresham bhagwan vratani shrutani me vyasa mukhada bhikshnam atripnuma shulla sukhavahanam tesham rite krishna katham ritoghat. So he says, I have heard I have heard about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Bahut suna hai ye Vyasdev ke mukh se maine, but atripnuma, I am not satisfied because they give very little pleasure. Shulla sukha. Shulla sukha means very little pleasure. Only Krishna Katha can give complete satisfaction. Tesham rite Krishna Katha amrita. When you compare the happiness of Krishna consciousness to the happiness of material world, the comparison is like the sky and the earth. It is unimaginable. So the happiness which one gets by Krishna consciousness, what is the word which is used in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu for the quality of happiness of devotional service? Anybody remembers the word? It comes in the first chapter itself. The 6 qualities of devotional service. Anybody remembers? It is Sandrananda
Visheshatma.
Yeah.
Sadhararan Prasannatma.
Prasanatma, Visheshatma. It's Sandrananda Vishesh
Visheshat.
Sandra means it is concentrated. So I'm extremely sorry. Oh, construction wo kuch to chal raha hai, so please bear with that. I can't do anything about it. So Sandra, it is the most concentrated form of happiness. So therefore, all this Krishna consciousness is basically to take us away from this lower dharma, and that's how Bhagavatam begins. What is the second verse of Bhagavatam?
Dharma.
Dharma projita. Yes, dharma projita. Prakrishta rupena ujita. All the lower dharmas, they are rejected because they will not give one happiness. That's why Prabodhananda Saraswati says, Vairagya Vidya Nij Bhakti Yoga Stiksharthamekam Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Buddhiyastamaham Prapadye. So the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, they are characterized by Vairagya. That is our identification. That's why very few people come to Krishna consciousness because अरे आप लोग बहुत ये नहीं करो वो नहीं करो ये पालन करो 4 नियम करो ये नहीं करना है चाय कॉफी भी नहीं पीना है. So many restrictions. So that is how we are made up of Vairagya. We are from the beginning only. अरे first day जो आता है मंगल आरती में उसको हम बुला देते हैं न धनम न जन्म न सुंदरीम. वो बेचारा वो सब कामनाओं से आया है और हम बोलते हैं ये मत करो वो भी मत करो वो भी मत करो. न धनम Janam Sundari, na Janam, or Sundari, na Sundari, So that is how we are made up of. So therefore, Vyasdev, Narad Muni is telling you have given them a bona fide way of sense gratification, please don't do it. And then he says, actually, only an expert, a very expert personality will follow what you want. Vichakshana means very expert. Only a person who is expert, he will asya arhati. He deserves to understand what you have intended to, Only a very expert personality retired from the activities of material happiness deserves to understand this spiritual value. So not everybody will understand spiritual values because anyways people are engaged in sense gratification. And therefore, through your descriptions, you want that people should come to Krishna consciousness. They will not do because it is a very, very difficult thing. It is not so easy. So therefore, you should never think. So Vyasdev, because Vyasdev may say, Are you are telling that, because, that is the clash between those people who are liberals and those who are very, very conservative. There are two approaches of preaching, right? Some people say, हम लोग को जैसा प्रभुपाद ने बोला है वैसा exegesis करना है. Why are you inventing few more things? Why are you adding things? Innovation, innovation versus tradition. So this is a typical clash between innovation and tradition. So Vyasdev may say, Are, you are telling me to give the direct thing, but people will reject even if I give them, right? Even if I give them the direct Krishna consciousness, they will reject it. Narad Muni says, no, not everyone is like that. If you give direct Krishna consciousness, not everyone will reject, because those who are vichakshana, those who are expert, those who know the truth, they will accept it. Everyone doesn't lack discrimination. Narad Muni says vichakshana. Vichakshana means those who are expert. Experts will take to Krishna consciousness. So give literatures of Krishna to expert people. Vichakshana, you don't think about the masses. What have you done? You are too much focusing about how to deliver the masses. Narad Muni says, don't think about masses much. Just try to give Krishna consciousness to the leaders. That's what Prabhupada would do many times. That's why he was telling, I can't think, Prabhupada would tell, I can't think small. My problem is I think big. I like to catch big people. So therefore, because that was the intention of Prabhupada, when the leaders become Krishna consciousness, then naturally Itara Jana will always follow what the leaders are doing. So therefore, Narad Muni is telling, don't think that people will not take. Just try to give this to the experts, and because they don't lack discrimination, they have this discriminative power, they are expert, they will take to it. Because the meaning of Vichakshana, Prabhupada Chakravarti Thakur writes, Vichakshana means those who can read the Vedanta and can understand. Not everybody can understand. Common man cannot understand. So Bhagavatam, so Vyasadev, when he heard this, what he did? He presented the Bhagavatam in such a way that it will appeal to Vichakshana also and Itara Jana also. Nivaranam Jana, Namanyate Tasya Nivaranam Jana, Itara Jana. So that's what Vyasadev did. He compiled Bhagavatam in such a way that it will appeal to both classes of people. Those who are interested in sense gratification, they will also get attracted to Bhagavatam. How? Anybody can tell me? How even those who are interested in sense gratification, how can they get attracted to Bhagavatam? Where in Bhagavatam such type of things are mentioned?
Because there's a Falshruti at the end of every chapter.
Yeah, there are various chapters, and the end of those chapters, okay, you do this, you will become famous, you'll be free from all the miseries, So therefore, Vyasadev did a very commendable job here. So Prabhupada writes, theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of the God. It is not a subject matter to be understood by people who are attached to material activities. Only very expert who have almost retired from material activities can be admitted to study of this great science. So it is a very, very rare thing which we are doing. We cannot even fathom the extent of our great fortune as we are reading Bhagavatam so nicely, so systematically. It is unimaginable thing which we are doing. So therefore, because as Bhagavad Gita says, out of thousands, few come. Which verse? Out of thousands. Manushyanam sahasreshu, out of thousands and thousands of men, few come to Krishna consciousness, and out of many, only one knows me in truth. So Prabhupada writes that. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narada to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. So, many times, preachers, everybody has a different way of preaching. So there is no right or wrong here. But many times it happens that in the name of doing indirect preaching, we lose our faith in direct Krishna consciousness. We think, people will never take to direct Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we devise so many different ways to attract people to Krishna. Of course, we should do it. There is no doubt about it. But as soon as possible, we should give them direct Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, if it is going on for years and years, chal raha hai, indirect katha, about self-help and lifestyle and all that. Ultimately, it should bring one to direct Krishna consciousness. So therefore, we should be very, very careful, not just engage people in indirect Krishna consciousness, indirect Krishna katha, give them direct Krishna katha. So that's what Narad Muni is telling here to Vyasadeva. You have given them indirect. Please give direct Krishna consciousness. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in this science and is unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it. And Shukdev is the right person to receive it. So Prabhupada writes further. Yeah, somebody can read from here, Srimad Bhagvatam.
Srimad Bhagvatam is the topmost theological science, and therefore it can react on the layman as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual literary incarnation of the Lord. So the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord and thus gradually become purified from material diseases. The expert devotees can also discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population.
Yeah, thank you.
That
Thank you much. Yeah, so here Narad Muni is telling very, very nicely that please make a blend of innovation and tradition. Don't just think about innovation so much that you forget the essence, and just don't stick to the tradition so much that it doesn't appeal to the people in general. Please make a blend of innovation and tradition. That is a constant, clash. To what extent we should do innovation and preaching, and to what extent we should be attached and we should stick to our traditional ways of Krishna consciousness. So Narad Muni is telling here, please do innovative preaching, but at the same time, don't give up the essence. We should focus on the essence more and more, because what we are giving. Prabhupada writes in the second line of the purport, fourth line, only the very expert who have almost retired from material activities can be admitted to the study of this great science. So, it is like a very, very difficult topic, very, very difficult subject. To practice bhakti, it is not so easy. It is like to enter into IIT or AIMS, one should have some basic qualification. Similarly, to enroll in the school of bhakti, it requires qualification. Manushyanam sahasreshu, Prabhupada writes, out of thousands and thousands, few come to bhakti. What is our hope? We are not qualified, but our hope is Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu has come to give the highest to the lowest. Ei gupta bhava sindhu brahma napa eka bindu hena dhana bilaila samsare aiche dayalu avatar aiche data nahiyar gun keha nare varni bare. That is the mercy of Mahaprabhu. So therefore, Narad Muni is saying, please make a blend of innovation and tradition, because Vyasadeva has done too much of innovation and he has not focused on the tradition much. So therefore, Narad Muni is saying, please don't do it. Make a blend of it. And Prabhupada writes a brilliant statement. Expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. One time a devotee asked Prabhupada, how to understand what is the principle and what is the detail? Because principles, they never change, and the details, they can be changed, right? So for example, Prabhupada, anybody can give me any example where Prabhupada changed the detail but maintained the principle?
like when he was setting up deities in the Western world, he all just set it up with the Harinam Sankirtan. But when he did it when he had to set it up in Vrindavan, he did it with the full rituals that were required, because he knew that the Indian people would not accept a murti that was not installed in the correct way.
Okay, yes, that's how he maintained the principle of deity worship, that okay, devotion should be there, but he changed the principle here, detail little bit in the West. Any other example? Prabhupada maintained the principle but changed the detail. Prabhupada has done many things. The most important thing Prabhupada did is, in the West, Prabhupada, when he gave initiation, after that, he said, you have to chant 64 rounds. Well, 64 round kaise hoga? 8 ghanta kaun? Okay, 32. No, that is also difficult. Okay, it's 24, 16 and no less. So the principle is maintained, you have to chant, but the detail, Prabhupada changed. Not everybody can change the details. So somebody asked Prabhupada, how to understand what is the principle and what is the detail? Prabhupada gave a very wonderful, very unique reply. He says that requires little intelligence. You should be intelligent enough. And our intelligence should be guided by Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. That is our spiritual intelligence. Because currently our material intelligence is subordinate to our mind. So therefore, we should be very, very careful. If we are changing the detail, in the name of changing the detail, we should not change the principle. Because, currently in some places, even devotees, regular devotees, they are thinking that it is very, very difficult for people to chant 16 rounds. Let's reduce it to 8. So that's what, is happening. That's what happens slowly. They say, Arey, Prabhupada did it. Prabhupada reduced from 64 to 16. Prabhupada was an acharya. He knew. We cannot take any whimsical decisions like that, thinking that I'm just changing the detail. No, the principle should be very, very carefully observed and practiced, and only an expert and a very, very well-established devotee can think of making changes in the detail. So therefore, it is a very, very important thing. So Prabhupada writes, devotional service is a dynamic activity and an expert devotee can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of material civilization. That's what Prabhupada would do many times. When he would translate, he would write purports, he would have to think. And I think I was telling last time also, sometimes he would do 20 digits, sometimes 25 digits, sometimes he would do only 10 digits in the dictaphone. So one devotee asked, Prabhupada, how is it that sometimes you are doing 25, 30 and sometimes only 10, 12? Prabhupada said, my business is not like you. You have to just hear and write down. I have to think that what will go on for next 10,000 years, what will go into the dull brains of the material civilization. And Prabhupada was making such wonderful ways to inject these knowledge of Krishna consciousness in the dull brains. Such transcendental activities of devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic civilization. Okay, so after telling all this, now, he continues and he gives from 17 to 19 verses. Vyasdev, Narad Muni does exclusive glorification of devotional service. Very, very powerful, very, very important verses are coming. Tyaktva swadharmam charanambujam harer.
Tyaktva swadharmam
Sadharmacharnambujam Hare.
Bhajanna pakvo athapate tato yadi.
Bhajana pakvo tato yadi.
Yatra kva va bhadram abhuda mushyakim.
Yatra kva bhadram bhudam
Ovat apto abhajatam swadharmataha.
apto
Abhajatam
bhajatam sadharmata.
One who has forsaken his material occupations. Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, yes.
Hare Krishna. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while he is an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in the personal duty, does not gain anything. Hare Krishna.
So it is a very, very important and very, very powerful verse. He says, Narad Muni says, even if somebody falls down in devotional service, doesn't matter. Very hope giving verse. Narad Muni is speaking. Tyaktva swadharmam. People say, you have given up all your responsibilities and you have taken to complete Krishna consciousness. What are you gaining by this? Narad Muni says, Tyaktva swadharmam. Even if somebody has given up his occupational duties, why? Charanam bhujam harer bhajan. निश्चिंत कृष्ण भजिबो एतो कारणे उन्वाद करिला तेहो संन्यास ग्रहणे. Swarup Damodar Goswami, why he took sannyas? He says, Nischint Krishna Bhajibo. I don't want to have the anxieties of this material world. So, if somebody gives up his occupational duties, why? Charana Ambuja Harer Bhajan. Because he wants to do exclusive devotional service. But somebody may take this decision, but his conditionings, his previous habits, they may not allow him to do it. Bhajan apakvo, he is not mature. So what happens? He falls down. Athapatet, he falls down because he is still immature. Narad Muni says, what is the loss? Yatra kva va abhadram. Abhadra kya hai usme? There is no loss. There is no unfortunate thing. If somebody gives up material duties and tries to practice spiritual life, but he can't practice spiritual life, also he falls down. What is the loss? Kovarth apto abhajatam swadharmata. And on the other hand, if somebody is making his life, material life very nice, doing all the responsibilities very nicely, he is not rendering devotional service. What is the gain? So this is a very, very important verse. Practicing spiritual life means a permanent benefit. Anybody knows? Anybody can tell me the verse from Bhagavad Gita? Spiritual practices, they are permanent. There's no loss. A very famous verse.
Swalpam
Nehadikramana
Asti. Yes.
40.
There is no loss, So bhajan, the word used is bhajan. That means he's not perfect. He's still practicing sadhana bhakti. Sometimes we have a fear. Arey, material life छोड़ दिया और प्रेम तो हुआ नहीं भगवान से, तो ना इधर के रहे ना उधर के रहे, बीच में फंस गए. It is just like entering a long tunnel and after some time इधर का लाइट भी चला गया, उधर का लाइट दिख नहीं रहा है. Then we are caught up in the middle with nothing, with intense darkness. This phase comes in life of every devotee, where a devotee wonders, क्या हो रहा है life में? ना इधर के रहे ना उधर के रहे, ना भगवान से प्रेम हो रहा है और ना भौतिक आसक्ति छूट रही है. So one time Prabhupada, he did a engagement marriage ceremony for one of the disciples. So he asked this devotee lady, whom do you love more, Krishna or your husband? So this lady, she started crying. He was like, क्या हो गया? She was asked. She said, no one. I don't love my husband and I have no love for Krishna also. So that is what happens with many people. अरे इधर भी नहीं दिख रहा है कुछ, उधर भी छोड़ दिया. A typical conditioned soul, always miserable. Two types of people who are always happy. यश्चा मूढ़तम लोके यश्चा बुद्धे परम गता तौ भव सुख में देते क्लिश्यति अंतरितो जना. मतलब दो लोग खुश रहते हैं, प्योर डिवोटी और पक्का सेंस ग्रेटिफायर. दुखी कौन रहते हैं? हम जैसे, मतलब हमारे मेरे जैसे बोल सकते हैं. बहुत सारे लोग दुखी रहते हैं, मतलब कृष्ण से प्रेम भी नहीं है और आसक्तियां भी हैं. नारद मुनि से, अरे व्हाट इज द लॉस? नेहा विक्रम अनाश्वस्ति, देयर इज नो लॉस. So we should never ever think that I am missing something in my life. बध्यमानोऽपि मद्भक्तो विषयैरजितेन्द्रियः प्रायः प्रागल्भया भक्त्या विषयैर्नाभिभूयते. This is such a hope-giving verse. Please note it down. Very hope-giving verse. जब problem, जब निराशा ही निराशा दिखे ना सब जगह, please remember this verse. I think this comes in the 11th canto. I don't know the exact number. I can just tell you the number also. Just a minute. This is a very, very hope-giving verse which Krishna is himself telling to Uddhava. So Krishna knows our position. He says, Badhyamanopi. Mera devotee hai na, is bound by material desires. Badhyamanopi. 11, 14, 18. Badhyamanopi madbhakto. My devotee is bound by conditionings. Vishayair ajitendriyaha. Ajitendriya hai, he is not able to give up sense gratification. But prayah pragalbhaya bhaktya, he is engaging in intense devotional practice. कुछ भी हो मैं तो भक्ति छोड़ूंगा नहीं, है ना. कितना भी पतित हो जाऊं, कितना भी मेरे मन में whatever sinful desires I may have, whatever sense gratificatory desires may come, I will never give Krishna. I'll never give up Krishna consciousness. Prayah pragalbhaya. Pragalbhaya means intense devotional service. What will be the result of this? Vishayair na abhibhuyate. Devotee may lose some battles, but he will win the war. He will never be defeated by sense gratification in the ultimate end. Krishna kahe ama bhaje mage vishay sukh. Amrit chhadi vishay mage ei bada murkh. Ame vigyai murkha vishay ke na diba. Swacharnamrit diya vishay bhulaiba. Krishna is saying, Ama bhaje, that is the main thing. Ama bhaje, bhajan kar raha hai na mera. Even if somebody is doing bhajan, vishay sukh mang raha hai na, no problem. In due course of time, it will go away. So that is what Narad Muni is telling. Tyaktva swadharma. So this is another important word. Some people, they may give up their responsibilities immaturely and whimsically. But we should work at our level of, whatever is in our level. We should not imitate someone else's level of detachment. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 12th chapter, 12.8, 9, 10, 11. Krishna says, there are various levels people can come to me. Mayyeva manadhatsva, may buddhim niveshaya, nivashisyasi mayyeva, ata urdhvam na samshaya. Engage your mind and intelligence on me. What is the next step Krishna tells? If you can't do it,
cannot, then you work for me.
No, before that, something is there. If you can't engage your mind and intelligence, follow the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. Do sadhana bhakti. So first is pure devotional service. If you can't do it, at least do sadhana bhakti. If you can't do it, then work for me. If you can't do it, then at least do some welfare work. So therefore, work at your level of consciousness and slowly rise. That is actually Varnashram system. I think I told this statement last time also. What is Varnashram? From your place, at your pace, join the race. That's Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's typical one-liner. So therefore, bhakti provides a way to work at our level. We should never imitate somebody else's level of Krishna consciousness. We should not have the pure devotee syndrome. अभी बन ही गया लगता है pure devotee. बस मतलब पिछले एक महीने से मेरे को गुस्सा आया ही नहीं है. And envy, I don't know what is envy. Lust तो पता ही नहीं है क्या होता है. Krishna will say, okay, कोई बात नहीं. I will tell you. I will show you. So one devotee went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, it seems I have become pure devotee. शुरू में आते हैं तो ऐसा कुछ लगता है बहुत लोग. Prabhupada said, why? What made you think like this? Prabhupada, I have not I have not developed any lusty desire since a month. Prabhupada said, there is some problem, go to doctor. Kuch to garbad hai. Nobody can artificially imitate Goswamis. So therefore, one should not give up the prescribed duties immaturely. So because this word is many times misinterpreted, Tyaktva Swadharmam. One should not give up prescribed duties prematurely. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyeta yavata matkatha shravanadova shraddha yavanna jayate. Krishna is telling to Uddhava. Till the time you don't develop intense attachment for the holy names of the Lord, please don't give up your occupational duties. So therefore, one should not give up the prescribed duties if he has no faith in bhakti. If you have faith in bhakti, then you can think of giving up your prescribed duties. Because what will happen? If somebody gives up the duty without having faith in bhakti, after some time he'll give up bhakti also. So it is very, very important to understand that it is more important to develop faith in bhakti than to give up material life. So therefore, when we are preaching, first we should give new devotees faith in Krishna consciousness. And that's how, when we are taking all these programs based on Bhagavad Gita, journey of self-discovery, we logically and scientifically explain all these things. Why you should believe in God, who am I, why do bad things happen to good people, why? And then after telling all this, in the last session, we say, okay, you should chant. So one should have some faith in Krishna consciousness, faith in bhakti. If he has faith in bhakti, then he will give up all his material tendencies. Otherwise, if we tell on the day one, beta chant, he may chant, but he'll give up ultimately because he has not developed that faith. So therefore, we should first develop faith in bhakti by understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and then one can actually take to the process of Krishna consciousness very strongly. That is understanding of Tyaktva Swadharmam. Artificially, one should not develop renunciation. Because many times students, they say, Prabhuji, aapka life kitna acha hai nahi? No exams, no responsibility, no tension, no bills. He is not attached to renounced order. He is frustrated with worldly responsibilities. What will happen when such person joins? He will understand, अरे यार यहाँ पे भी इतना आसान नहीं है, यहाँ पे बहुत सेवा है, यहाँ पे वहाँ पे ऊपर बॉस दिन भर है, रात भर है, at least in the outside world you have vacation, Sunday छुट्टी, इधर vacation ही नहीं है. What will happen? After some time he'll get frustrated with renounced order. So we should be very, very careful. What is the impetus for taking to Krishna consciousness? Tyaktva Swadharmam, it is not so easy. So therefore, we have to work at our level of understanding. So that is what is described here. Another verse which is very many times misunderstood is Devarshi Bhutapt Nirnam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Ranichanrajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gatom Kundam Pariritya Kartum. Oh, a devotee abhi chanting kar rahe na, no responsibility, parents, family, society. बोला है भागवतम में, देवर्षि भूत आप्त निणाम पितृणाम, I am no one's servant, I am everyone's master. Sharanam Sharanyam is very important word here. So we should not artificially imitate the behavior of pure devotees or Goswamis. Many times people quote, oh, Bharat Maharaj. So yeah, to understand this, Bharat Maharaj, although he was a pure devotee, he performed all the sacrifices. Why? Because he didn't want to disturb the faith of common people. because he was thinking, I am a pure devotee, I don't need to do all these sacrifices. But if I won't do it, people will imitate me and they will fall down. So therefore, we have to understand that while living in a society, we have to be really careful to what extent we should make an external display of renunciation. A household life, a renounced order means externally detached and internally detached. But a household life means internally detached, but externally we may have to do some activities which may show that he is still detached, he's still maintaining family, wife, children, husband. Externals are not so much important in Krishna consciousness. Internals are more important. So that is what is described. So
Prabhuji, one can do one's prescribed duties as well as do Krishna consciousness both, right, Prabhuji?
Yeah, that is what is being explained. Swadharma, one should not artificially think I will give up all my Swadharma and I will do only pure Krishna consciousness. But if we are not actually on that level, we will give up Krishna consciousness also after some time because we will be frustrated. So therefore, we should be very, very careful. We should always work under the guidance of superiors. Our convictions should always be confirmed by authorities. Whatever our convictions are. If we think I am now thinking to do this, okay, that's your conviction. Please get it confirmed from your authorities. If the pure devotees don't sanction, that means there is a problem. Parikshit Maharaj, he decided, I'll give up everything and go and sit on the bank of Ganga. And when all the sages come, he asks them that I have decided to do this. Is it okay? So that's how, we have to confirm our convictions. Sweswe adhikare ya nishtha, another verse which tells Sweswe, we should be very, very comfortable in practice of Krishna consciousness, and that's how we have to advance. We should not artificially make a show of renunciation. So Prabhupada writes, as far as duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound, not only to his parents, family members, society, but also to the great philosophers, poets, and scientists. It is enjoined that in the scriptures, one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the Supreme Lord. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service, it is well and good. But if it so happens that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, and in the long run, due to so many reasons, he falls down. There are so many instances of this in the history. Bharat Maharaj's story is described, then Chitraketu Maharaj's story is described. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse, Neha Vikramanasho Asti. Then Prabhupada quotes the story of Ajamil. So if somebody is really thinking, okay, I want to give up all these material attachments. So we discussed one part. This verse says, even if somebody does that, prematurely, even if somebody gives up all his materialistic duties, thinking that I want to practice, Krishna consciousness full on, and he can't maintain it, still there is no loss. Still, whatever you did is permanent. So therefore, in any way, there is no loss in practice of Krishna consciousness. But however, we should understand that we should always work under the guidance of some senior devotees who can guide us, what to do, what not to do, so that we can, we can be in a situation where we are comfortably situated in Krishna consciousness. Because there are already so many problems. There are already so many problems in life. We should not add new one. Thinking that, just like one time, Prabhupada was with some of the disciples in Vrindavan, and they were doing Vrindavan Parikrama. So one of the disciples, he was not wearing any slippers, footwear. Prabhupada said, oh, why are you not wearing any slipper? Prabhupada, this is Vrindavan. Krishna never wore slippers in Vrindavan. Prabhupada said, look, there are already enough austerities in Krishna consciousness. Don't add new one. So therefore, it is, if somebody really wants to become intense in the practice of Krishna consciousness, and if he decides something, please get those convictions or decisions confirmed from the authorities, confirmed from the seniors, superiors. And that will save us from lots of troubles in life. Okay, so we'll go to the next verse. Very, very important verses. We can go on discussing for long time. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido
तस्यैव हेतो प्रयतेत कोविदो
na labhyate yad bhramatam
न लभ्यते यत् भ्रमतामुपरि यदा
तल्लभ्यते दुःखवदन्यता सुखम्
लभ्यते दुःखद्वद्भुत सुखम्
कालेन सर्वत्र गभीररंहसा
कालेन सर्वत्र कबीररमहसा.
Persons who are actively intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet. As far as happiness derived from sense gratification, sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries, even though we do not desire them.
Yeah. So hearing the previous verse, Tyaktva Swadharmam, someone may say, Arey, you are only talking about bhakti, bhakti, bhakti. But Vedas, they talk about heavenly pleasures also. What about them? You are talking about only Goloka. What about heavenly pleasures mentioned in the Vedas? And how can one promote bhakti for people by rejecting one's own dharma? Because if we reject dharma, we'll reject happiness. Because dharma leads to happiness. So one will not be happy in this life and next life also. So Narad Muni says, yes, it's true. It is mentioned in the scriptures. The heavenly pleasures are mentioned, but intelligent person is not confused by all these promises of the Vedas. So therefore he says, don't endeavor for anything material in this world. Tasya eva heto prayatet kovida. Kovida means those who are learned, those who are intelligent. They should endeavor. Tasya eva. They should endeavor. Hetu means the purpose. They should only endeavor for that particular purpose. Na labhyate yad bhramatam uparyadaha. That which is not obtainable by wandering from the topmost planet to the lowest planet. Uske liye prayas karna hai. Endeavor for that which is not obtainable even in the 14 planetary systems. Because tallabhyate dukkha vadanyata sukham. As far as happiness is concerned, it will be obtained in due course of time. Tallabhyate, labhya hai wo. It is obtainable. Kalena sarvatra, in due course of time you will get happiness. Please don't endeavor for happiness. Just as in due course of time, even if you don't endeavor for miseries, they come. Similarly, the happiness will also come. That's what Prahlad Maharaj tells to his friends. Oh, my friends, please don't endeavor for the happiness of this world. Sukham indriyakam daitya dehinam deha yoginam sarvatra labhyate daivad yatha dukkham yatnatah. अरे इंद्रियों का सुख तो सब जगह मिल जाता है. सुखम इंद्रियकम दैत्या. Anybody who has this body, he will get material happiness. Sarvatra labhyate daivad, by the will of providence, one gets happiness for sure. Just like one gets pain, yatha dukkham ayatnatah. Nobody endeavors for pain, right? Nobody endeavors for miseries, but still they come. Similarly, don't endeavor for happiness. Then why we should endeavor? Tat prayaso na kartavyo yatha ayu vayaparam na tatha vindate shemam mukunda charanambujam. Don't endeavor for anything other than attaining the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the injunction of the scriptures. Please don't endeavor for happiness. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, every man everywhere is trying to obtain sense gratification by various endeavors, by industry, economic development, political supremacy, etc. And some people, they don't want anything of this world. They want to go to heaven. And that's why they do all the yagyas. Traividya mama soma paputa papa yagye rishtva swargatim prarthayante. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says people, they do yagya and all the tapasya. Why? Swargagati. I want celestial pleasures. So there are various programs for sense enjoyment either in this life or in the next life. Some are trying to reach the moon or other planets by mechanical arrangements. For they are very anxious to get into such planets without doing good work. But this is not to happen. And then Prabhupada says, if you do good activity, you will naturally be promoted to the higher planetary systems, or you will get to take birth in the family of a rich person, of good family, good education, good bodily features. But whatever you do in this world, it is all permanent. It is all temporary. Everything will be, lost in due course of time. Highest Brahmaloka to Patal. Everything you get in this world is temporary. Prabhupada writes, miseries and mixed happiness are two features of material life. Prabhupada chooses the words very precisely. Miseries and mixed happiness. Nobody gets pure happiness in this world. It is all mixed. Some amount of pain will be there for sure. And with all the happiness, it is available in hogs and dog body also. Everyone has his destined happiness. Nobody can get more or less. And even if you get those things, they are lost. Therefore, one should not waste time. So that is how we should endeavor for Mukunda Charanam Bhujam. Next verse is a very, very important, very wonderful verse. Again, a hope-giving verse. So these are like a jewel of the verses. I think we should memorize all these verses. Navai jano jatu kathanchana vrajen.
Navai jano jantu katham navaisi praje.
The Sevyanyavadanga samsritim.
Mukunda
सेवी अन्वयात अंग संस्थितम
Smaran mukunda ngripaguhanam puna.
Smaran
स्मरणं मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रि उपगुहनं पुनर्
Vihatumichen narasa graho jana.
My dear Vyasa, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes falls down somehow or other, he certainly doesn't undergo material existence like others, spiritual workers, etc. Because a person who has once released the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we'll take 5 minutes break and then we'll continue. It's 4:30 now.
Okay,
Hare Krishna.
okay, okay, bro. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hello. Anybody in the group?
प्रभु जी ब्रेक चालू है. प्रभु जी 5 मिनट का ब्रेक है.
ब्रेक पता है. मुझे एक क्वेश्चन है. आप में से कोई आंसर दे सकता है? टेस्ट के बारे में. टेस्ट के बारे में. हरे कृष्णा. एनीबडी लिसनिंग? मित्रवंदना माता जी.
यस प्रभु जी. हरे कृष्णा. दंडवत प्रणाम.
धन्यवाद. एक प्रश्न है मेरा. वो थर्ड क्वेश्चन है ना, थर्ड अभी जो टेस्ट आने वाला है उसमें.
हाँ जी.
वो क्वेश्चन ही मुझे नहीं समझा एक्चुअली. क्या है वो क्वेश्चन? कैन यू सी द क्वेश्चन?
मैं एक मिनट ओपन करती हूँ.
चैप्टर 2 का.
हाँ. 1.3 का 1.3 चैप्टर मतलब थर्ड चैप्टर.
हाँ जी. हाँ जी.
थर्ड क्वेश्चन.
Gross and subtle material
फॉर्म्स.
ये वाला प्रभु.
हाँ यही यही यही. एक्चुअली मुझे मतलब मैं समझा बेसिक उसमें समझाओ ना क्या उसका मीनिंग है क्वेश्चन का. क्या लिखने का वो आंसर प्रभु जी ने दिया वहां पे, लेकिन क्या मीनिंग है उसका?
प्रभु जी इसमें ये वाला श्लोका का 1.3.30 को वो लिखना है ना, कोट लिखना है.
नहीं वो ठीक है. लिखने के लिए मैं लिख दूंगा. ये थोड़ा मुझे समझाइए इसके बारे में. वो क्या बोलना चाहते हैं? मतलब इमेजिनरी क्या है? जीवा का और ये मैं समझा नहीं वो क्या मतलब है. आपको क्या समझाइए मेरे को उसके बारे में. एक्चुअली प्रभु जी को मैं पूछने वाला था, लेकिन प्रभु जी ने लेक्चर चालू किया.
यहाँ पे प्रभु जी ये बताया ज्ञानी इसका नियोफाइट्स बताया हुआ है प्रभु जी ने जो एक्सप्लेन किया था.
हाँ मतलब आपको जो समझाए मुझे समझाइए बस. हाँ बताइए.
ये बताया था कि जो ये विराट रूप का जो है तो दिस इज इमेजिनेशन ऐसा कुछ बताया था. और मतलब
भगवान का जो विराट रूप है वो इमेजिनेशन है, बराबर ना? ऐसे बताया था
ऐसा जो मुझे समझ आया.
ओके. और जीवा का क्या है? जीवा
का इसमें
उन्होंने ऐसा लिखा है ना, क्वेश्चन ऐसा ना, द मटेरियल फॉर्म्स ऑफ बोथ द लॉर्ड एंड जीवा आर इमेजिनरी.
उसमें प्रभु जी मेन पॉइंट एक ये दिया हुआ ना कि द प्रेजेंट फॉर्म्स ऑफ द कंडीशन सोल्स आर नॉट फैक्चुअल.
ओके.
हरे कृष्णा.
यस प्रभु जी, बिफोर स्टार्टिंग ना, आई एम जस्ट टेकिंग योर 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes. Could you explain in a few words or few lines about the third question in the test? I'll read the question. I'll read the question. The material forms of both the Lord and Jiva are imaginary.
Which chapter it is?
1.3.
Just a moment.
Text number 30 to 34.
Second chapter.
Third chapter. Text number 30 to 34.
हाँ बोलिए.
Question is, the material forms of both the Lord and Jiva are imaginary. Quote 1.3.30 Etad Rupam Bhagavato and give salient points.
The question is not the material forms are imaginary. वो section का नाम है.
Okay.
The question is gross and subtle material forms are
Ah,
imaginary.
Yeah,
Explain.
gross and subtle material forms are imaginary.
Ah,
Could you explain in a few words what is the meaning of this?
that is this Virata Rupa. No, it is this verse talks about Virata Rupa. The gross material form and the subtle material form. So we have discussed there is the gross form of this material world. That is this Virat Rupa. That is this 14 planetary system. We consider that this is a form of the Lord. It is imagination, right?
As it's imaginary. Okay, fine.
So
And Jiva?
the material forms of the Lord and the Jiva are imaginary. There is some problem in that bit, but the question is very clear. It is describing this form of the universe, the Virat Rupa. I'll just check just a minute. So when here it is described when it is described that the Lord's form is imaginary, the Jiva's form is imaginary. That means, the living entity, they have this conception. They start identifying with the body. They start identifying with the mind, intelligence, and ego. That is just an imagination which the living entities are making, and that's why they suffer.
Okay.
So that is the conception. Just like in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ichha, Dvesh, Sukham, Dukkham, Sanghatas, Chetana, Dhriti, Etat, Kshetram, Samasena, Savikaram, Udharitam. So there it is described that Ichha, Dvesh, hatred, and happiness, distress, they are all changes experienced by the Kshetra. Kshetra means the body. But if you see it closely, the body doesn't experience happiness and distress. Who experiences happiness and distress? The
mind.
We experience, the soul experiences.
Okay.
But actually it is not the case, because soul is spiritual and all these things are material. But it is just an imagination when we start identifying ourselves with the body. That is the conception of the soul, bodily conception, that makes a living entity suffer. So that is what is described here as imaginary, gross, and subtle form. Here imagination means we start identifying with the body, we start identifying with the mind, we start identifying with the desires of the mind. That's what it is described as imaginary. Otherwise the body is real. But it is temporary. We all know the philosophy.
Okay, Praveen. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So yeah, so this now the 19th verse is another very, very interesting verse. Just a minute. Navai jano jatu kathanchana brajen. So he says, now Narad Muni continues to describe the glories of devotional service. Navai jano jatu. Somehow, if Mukunda Sevi, if somebody is engaging in Mukunda Seva and he is a devotee of the Lord for some time, but somehow he falls down. He falls down because of some conditionings. Na vai janaha, that personality who engaged in Krishna consciousness practices for some time and then gave up because of his previous conditionings. Na samsriti, he will never undergo material existence like others. Others means Prabhupada gives fruitive workers. Karmis, they also suffer, and the devotees may also suffer, but the devotee will not suffer like a karmi. Why? How this will happen? Smaranam mukundangri upaguhanam puna. He will remember his good days in Krishna consciousness. Many of the students, when they, this is a very common experience. When they come in Krishna consciousness in first year, second year, they practice, and then somehow, because of some conditionings or something, they leave Krishna consciousness. They come again after many years. अभी पूरा establish हो गए, doctor भी बन गए. Then they think, अरे वो अच्छे दिन थे यार. जब मैं मंदिर जाता था, इस्कॉन में जाता था, अच्छे लोग थे. मजा आता था उधर. वापस आना है मेरे को. Smarana mukundangri upaguhanam. What are they doing? Remembrance of those good days in Krishna consciousness. Narad Muni uses a very nice word. It haunts them. Haunts them. Rasa graha jana. They are haunted by the good experiences of Krishna consciousness. Such a wonderful thing. Smarana mukundangri upaguhanam punaha. Upaguhanam puna. Again, they will remember the good days of Krishna consciousness. And what will happen? Vihatum ichen na. इच्छा ही नहीं होगा वो छोड़ने का. विहातुम इच्छेन न रसग्रह, because rasagraha, they are haunted by the ghost of rasa. That's what Chakravarti Thakur writes. Rasagraha means they are haunted by the ghost of rasa. One who is eager for tasting this rasa of Krishna consciousness and he has tasted something, this person is like a person who is haunted by ghost. You know what's the characteristic of a person who is haunted by ghost? He is not in his own control. जो अंदर से भूत कराता है वही करता है. So a devotee in Krishna consciousness is like a haunted person in a good sense, right? He is haunted by the ghost of good experiences. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Kaviraj Goswami says, Sei bhakta dhanya jena chhade prabhur charan, Sei prabhu dhanya jena chhade nijajan, Durdaiva sevak yadi jaye anya sthane, Sei prabhu dhanya tare chule dhariyane. Very beautiful. Sei bhakta dhanya, that devotee is great who never leaves the Lord's lotus feet, and that Lord is also so great who never leaves his devotees. Durdaiva sevakayadi, somehow by some unfortunate thing, if a devotee goes away, Sei Prabhu Dhanya Tare Chule Dhariyane, he will catch hold of the shikha of the devotee and bring him back. One time there was a devotee, brahmachari, in the west somewhere, and he was there for a few years in temple, and then he thought, "Arey jada ho gaya, thoda break leke aata." So then he left temple, didn't tell anyone. He was missing for 2-3 days, and then after 2 days he thought, "Chalo, main surfing karke aata hu." And the previous days I would like to surf. So he was doing surfing in the ocean, and then he saw a shark coming from front. He was thinking, "Arey, whole life I have done surfing. I never ever have experienced a shark. First time I have come out of this temple. and abhi shark aaya. So we all know the panic button, jab problem aaya to kya karna hai. He started telling nursing Aarti, singing nursing Aarti, pura nursing Aarti गा लिया, still shark is coming. अभी क्या, चलो मंगल आरती गा लेते हैं. मंगल आरती हो गया, तुलसी आरती हो गया, सब कुछ गा लिया, still shark is coming. Then he prayed to the Lord, oh my Lord, please, I promise, if the shark doesn't hurt me, leave me, for sure I'll go back and I will never leave you again. So then the shark came and decided to do Ekadashi fasting. And he circumambulated this person, devotee, and then went. So this devotee was really amazed. He ran back to temple and devotee said, "Kidhar tha? Dikha nahi 2-3 din se." He said, "Nahi, thoda break lene gaya tha." So that's how Krishna will make arrangements in the life of a devotee. Ek baar chanting kar liya, ek baar prasad kha liya, and experience good things in Krishna consciousness, he will never be able to leave. Bhagavatam 10th Canto describes that even the impersonalists fall down. Aruhya krichrena param padam tata patanti adha. Somebody may say devotee also fall down. What is the difference? Tathanate madhavatavaka kvachit brashyanti marga tvai baddha sauridha tvaya abhigupta vicharena nirbhaya vinaikani kapamurdha suprabho. Yes, devotees also fall down, but they don't fall down like others. Tathanate, the devotee, Madhava Tavaka Kvachit, the devotees of Madhava, they don't fall down like others. Bhrashyanti marga, marg se bhrasht ho jate hain, but Tvai baddha sauridha, because they are attached to your lotus feet, my Lord. Tvayabhigupta vicharena nirbhaya. They can wander in the world without any fear. They even step on the death personified. Any example? Devotee steps on the head of the death personified. Anywhere in the Bhagavatam it comes?
Dhruva Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj, he stepped on the death.
Pastor.
Yes, So, so when Dhruva performed austerities, and then this Nanda Sunanda, they came in a celestial plane. So death personified came and said, "Oh Dhruva, please leave your body. You cannot go to the spiritual world in this material body." Bhagavatam says Dhruva stepped on the head of death personified and climbed that plane. So that's how devotees may fall down, but they don't fall down like others. So Prabhupada writes, very nice purport here. A devotee of the Lord automatically becomes uninterested in enchantment of material existence because he is rasa graha. He has tasted the sweetness of the Lord. And actually devotees, they look like mad people for materialists. Those who are haunted, they also look like mad. Their features are like they tell, oh, ye kuch to haunted person hai. So devotees, by just their experience, people can tell, ye kuch to alag hai, he's a different person. So that's how Prabhupada writes, just by external features, one can understand. Even if a devotee falls down, he is never considered the same as a fallen karmi. Prabhupada writes a very nice statement. Sufferings of an orphan and sufferings of a beloved child of a king are not the one and the same. Just see, both are suffering, but the sufferings of an orphan is what? Usko khane ke liye nahi mil raha hai. Usko 3 time khana nahi mil raha hai theek se. No medical facility, no nice clothing. What are the sufferings of a king, child of a king? उसका सफरिंग क्या है? अरे मुझे आईफोन 13 चाहिए था, मुझे आईफोन 12 ही दिया है. That is the suffering of a king's son. So our suffering and the suffering of the materialists, they are different. That's what Prabhupada writes. Orphan is really poor because he has no one to take care. But A beloved son of a rich man, although he appears on the same level as an orphan, is under the vigilance of his father. A devotee of the Lord, due to wrong association, sometimes imitates the fruitive workers. Similarly, a neophyte devotee foolishly thinks of accumulating material power. Such foolish devotees are sometimes put into difficulty by the Lord himself. Very interesting statement. Anybody can tell me any verse where Krishna is saying, if I give special favor to someone, I take everything away from my devotee. Anybody knows the few words of this one very nice verse? सब कुछ ले लेता हूँ हाँ यस्याहम अनुगृह्णामि हरिष्ये तद्धनम शनैः ततो जनम अधनम च अस्या. Exactly. So he says, after one becomes poor, nobody likes this person and he has nowhere to go to than to my lotus feet. That's how Krishna works inconceivably in the life of a devotee. So that is how, we have to have that faith that whatever is happening in my life, although of course it is easy to speak, but we'll realize these statements to the extent we practice our bhajan properly. To the extent we practice our bhajan properly, to that extent all these statements of Bhagavatam will reveal themselves. So whatever happens in the life of a devotee, whatever problems, whatever difficulties, they are for our good. That's what Bhagavatam says. That's why Kunti Manan says, "Aur de do, itna kafi nahi hai, aur chahiye, vipada santuta sashvat." So Lord sometimes he put his devotees into troubles so that they come close to him. Then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada tells that Lord shows his mercy in two ways. First, if somebody cannot complete his process of bhakti, in the next life he will get a chance to take birth in the wealthy family or a devotee family. Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Vijayate. Or sometimes if Lord wants to give mercy, he will put his devotee in a helpless situation where he will cry, Krishna, abhi koi nahi bacha sakta, abhi aap hi bacha sakte hain. Yasyaham anugrihणami harishe tad dhanam shanaihi tato dhanam tejatyasya dukkhita swajana bandhava. So that's how devotee, when he repents, when he is put into difficult situations or when he commits a mistake, a devotee repents. And that repentance purifies the devotee. Pure devotional service is so spiritually relishable that a devotee becomes automatically uninterested in material enjoyment. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes some statements about this. He says he is haunted by the ghost of rasa that we discussed. And he quotes this verse, Bhakti Pareshanu Bhavo Virakti Anyatra. So as one practices devotional service, he becomes disinterested in Krishna, in the material life. He experiences Krishna, and the sentiments of devotion, they increase in the heart. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, Upaguhanam Punaha. What does it mean? Upaguhanam Punah. That means, many times this must have happened to many of us. We practice something, some principles, we fall down. Again we practice, again we fall down. So this devotee is thinking, he may give up the service of Krishna by his own choice once, twice, or thrice because of poor determination. नहीं कर पा रहा है. एक बार छोड़ा वापस आया, दूसरी बार छोड़ा वापस आया, तीसरे बार छोड़ा वापस आया. What happens after some time? He remembers his fallen condition. And he says, he repents actually. He says, oh, what I have foolishly done. Okay, let that be. Whatever I have done, I have fallen 2 times, 3 times, no problem. I will not again abandon worship of the Lord. So he may abandon the worship of the Lord once, twice, thrice, but still he again comes back. He never gives up. बोले अभी मेरे लिए है ही नहीं भक्ति, है ना, कुछ लोग बोल देते हैं मेरे लिए है ही नहीं भक्ति, ये बहुत अपने बस का नहीं है. No, a devotee never gives up. Even if he falls down many times, he never gives up. So after describing this, so Narad Muni, then he says in the next verse that, scriptures, they say that Acharyavan Purusho Vedo. Acharyavan Purusho Vedo means one should hear from the Acharyas. So, although you know everything, O Vyasadev, but still I will give you some instructions in nutshell. So now the Vyasadev is convinced, okay, kya karna hai mujhe? So after describing the principles of bhakti, Narad Muni, he gives some nutshell instructions. Why? Because nobody should say, Are Vyasadev didn't have any spiritual master. Why should I take a spiritual master? So therefore, Narad Muni is saying, although you know everything, Vyasadev, but still I'll give you some instructions so that in future nobody should say that Vyasadev didn't have spiritual master. So now he describes the supremacy of the Lord, and he explains that how Lord is the cause of this entire universe. So Narad Muni is now giving some instructions to Vyasadev. Idam hi vishwam bhagavani vetaro.
Idam hi vishwam bhagavan ivetaro.
Yato jagat sthana nirodha sambhava.
Yato
Tadhi swayam ved bhavam stathapite.
Tadhi swayam veda bhavam satatapite.
Radesha matram bhavatah pradarshitam.
Radesha matram bhavata pradarshitam. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is himself this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have given only a synopsis.
Okay. Idam hi vishwam. So he's saying, this Vishwa, O Vyasadev, this is created, maintained, and annihilated by the supreme will of the Lord. Idam hi Vishwam. So Supreme Lord, although he is doing everything in this creation, but still he is aloof from it. Ivetaro. He is aloof from it. Itara, he is different from it. He's not the material, he's not affected by the things and the various processes which are happening in this material world. He is aloof of it. Tadhi swayam ved bhavam tathapite. Bhavam, it is a very respectable address. In Hindi mein aap bolte na. Twam means tum. Bhavan means aap. So it's saying your good self, you know everything. Tadhi swayam. Dhi means you know. Still, I am giving you just a synopsis. Pradesh matram. Pradesh matram means a synopsis. Because nobody should say, Are Vyasadev didn't have an acharya. So everyone needs acharya. So I am giving you some token instructions. That's it. I won't go into the detail of it. I'm just giving the token instructions because you know everything, just to make sure that nobody should tell in the future, Arey Vyasadev didn't have a teacher. So Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes that you know personally everything because you are yourself avatar of the Lord. And therefore, I have shown only a small portion of bhakti. Pradesh matra means small portion. Pradesh Matra means 10 fingers, that is technically called as Pradesh Matra. 10 fingers means small, छोटा सा ही बताया आपको मैंने. I have given you some little thing about bhakti and knowledge of the Lord because you know everything. Because Lord is unlimited. Chakravarti Thakur writes, Lord measures more than 10 million times 100 trillion. 10 million times 100 trillion. So Lord is unlimited, but still, just to fulfill this statement, Acharyavan Purusho Vedo, one should have Acharyas. That's why I'm telling this to you. So Prabhupada writes in the purport about Brahman and how the Lord is supremely powerful. He has created everything. He gives the example of people, they are throwing Sputnik in the space and they are trying to control this cosmos. But Supreme Lord is making and so many planets and they are floating in the sky. So how can somebody say that he is greater than God? So that's how Prabhupada writes, men with a poor fund of knowledge, they claim that they can become God. So like that. Okay, next verse. Tvamatmanatmanam avehya amogadrek parasya pumsaha paramatmanah kalam ajam prajatam jagata shivayatan mahanubhavabhyudayodhiganyatam.
Your godness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly. Hare Krishna.
So now Narad Muni is glorifying the qualities of Vyasadeva. So in the 20th verse, he said, "Oh, your good self, you know everything. I am just giving you a synopsis." So now in the 21st verse, he said, "You are having a perfect vision. You are amoghadrik. You have perfect vision. Tvam atmanatmanam. By your own perfect vision, you can search out the Supreme Lord because you are the empowered incarnation of the Lord. Paramatmana Kala. You are the plenary portion, empowered plenary portion. Ajam Prajatam. That Supreme Lord who is Ajam. Ajaha means he is unborn. He takes birth. So the Supreme Lord who is unborn, he has taken birth in this world as your good self. And therefore, please adhiganyatam. Please describe the glories of the Lord even more. So therefore here, Narad Muni is establishing the fact that Vyasadeva is a empowered incarnation of the Lord. He is the Supreme Lord's plenary portion. Vyasadeva is the empowered plenary portion incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He descends by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen souls in the material world. After a few lines, Prabhupada writes, although formally Narad Muni is spiritual master of Vyasa, Srila Vyasadeva is not at all dependent on a spiritual matter because because in essence, he is spiritual master of everyone else. But because he is doing the work of an Acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have spiritual master, even though he be God himself. So that is the understanding. Now the next verse. Idam hi pumsa tapasa shrutasya va Shrishtasya suktasya cha buddhi dattayo avichyuto artha kavibhir nirupito.
Avichyuto artha kavibir nirupito.
Yaduttama shloka gunanuvarnanam.
Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry.
So, now, after hearing all this, somebody may say that one becomes successful in bhakti by giving up all the material desires. But if some devotee has material desires, then what should we do? What should that devotee do? Because not everybody is a pure devotee, right? Somebody may have material desires. He may be attached to some other dharma. You are telling dharma projita kaitavatra parmo, but I have some other desires also. What to do? Should I do bhakti or should I worship devatas? Should I worship Krishna or should I worship somebody else to fulfill my desires? So Vyasdev, Narad Muni is telling, idam hi pumsaha tapasaha shutasya shushtasya suptasya buddhidattayo. Advancement of knowledge, austerity, studying the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of the hymns, charity, whatever you do in this material world, avichyuto artha kavibhir nirupito. Kavibhihi means the great learned souls, they have ascertained, they have concluded that avichyuto artha, the infallible purpose of all these things which are mentioned in the first two lines. Tapasya kar lo, Ved pad lo, sacrifice, chanting of the hymns, charity, whatever you do in this world. You know what is the ultimate purpose of all that? Yaduttama shlok punanuvarnana. One should chant the holy names of the Lord. One should describe the glories of the Lord. That's the ultimate purpose, ultimate end result of all the various activities of a person. So therefore, even if you have some other desires, don't worry. You will get everything by the practice of Krishna consciousness. A devotee of the Lord is never bereft of anything. You don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to go to any devata. If you want good wealth, good health, intelligence, power, strength, good wife, good husband, whatever you want, Krishna will give you everything. Yat karmabhir, yat tapasa, jnana vairagya shayat, yogena dana dharmena shreyobhir itarairapi. Sarvam mad bhakti yogena mad bhakto labhate anjasa swarga apavarga mad dhama kathanchid yadi vanchati. Krishna is telling to Uddhava, अरे my devotee gets everything, don't worry about it. कर्म करके कुछ मिलने वाला है, वो सब मिलेगा. तपस्या, योग, दान, धर्म, श्रेयोभिरितरैरपि, whatever good things one can get by practice of any other part of Vedas. Sarvam means everything you will get. Sarvam. It is not that okay, ये हो जाएगा, वो नहीं मिलेगा, ये मिलेगा, वो नहीं मिलेगा. No. Everything. Sarvam mad bhakti yogena mad bhakto labhate anjasa. My devotee very easily gets everything. You want swarga, you will get swarga. You want apavarga, you want liberation, you will get liberation. You want bhakti, you will get bhakti. Whatever you want, you will get it by the practice of bhakti. The devotee is never bereft of anything. So that is the power of Krishna consciousness. A devotee is never ever a loser. That is the understanding. So Prabhupada writes, After a few lines, Prabhupada writes, unfortunately, persons who are enamored by the external beauty of Maya do not understand that the culmination of perfection depends on Vishnu. Vishnu Maya means sense enjoyment, which is transient and miserable. Those who are trapped by Vishnu Maya utilize advancement of knowledge for sense enjoyment. So therefore, whatever you want to attain by the practice of Krishna consciousness, you will get it by bhakti. Because this world is so very attractive. You know, one time devotees were there with Prabhupada on the beach, and one devotee said, Prabhupada, this ocean looks so beautiful. Prabhupada said, yes, material energy is like that. From far it looks beautiful. When you go near, it will suck you inside. That is the glamour of this material world. You know. So therefore, it is very, very important to understand that even if you have material desires, take to the process of Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that all the sages and devotees of the Lord that have recommended that subject matter of art, science, philosophy, chemistry, and everything, all the branches of the knowledge, they should be wholly and solely applied in service of the Lord. Tapasvino, Danapara, Yashashvino, Manasvino, Mantravido, Sumangala, Shemam na Vindanti Vinaya Darpanam. If you don't offer the results of all these activities to Krishna, you will not get any success. So that is the understanding of this verse. Whatever you want, you will get from Krishna. There is no one who is a loser in Krishna consciousness. That is how we have to understand. Now Prabhupada writes, philosophy and science should be engaged to establish the glory of the Lord. Last few lines. Real utilization of advanced knowledge is to establish the glories of the Lord. That is a real import. Whatever we do, whatever we read, whatever we practice, we should do it only for one reason. I want to glorify Krishna. We should not keep ourselves in front. We should try to keep Krishna in front. We may get recognition. You know, devotee naturally gets lots of fame, lots of respect. As it is said that people of the world, they are running behind fame, but fame runs behind devotees. Pratisthara bhai puri gela palaya, Krishna preme pratishtha chale sange ganaya. Madhavendra Puri, when Gopinath stole kheer for him, everybody came to know that, oh, he's such a great devotee. Toma lagi Gopinath kheer koila churi. Are for you, Gopinath has stolen sweet rice. So immediately Madhavendra Puri, he became fearful of Pratishtha. Who becomes fearful of Pratishtha? Pratisthara bhai. Pratishtha ka bhai ho gaya. We become fearful ki Pratishtha aa nahi rahi hai. But Madhavendra Puri became fearful, Pratishtha aa jayegi. Pratisthar bhai puri gela palaya. He ran away from there. But Krishna preme pratishtha chale sange gadaya. But pratishtha runs behind the devotee. Already everybody in Jagannath Puri knew that Madhavendra Puri is such a great devotee. But he used that fame in service of Krishna. He came to know that, oh, now everybody knows that, oh, I am such a great devotee. I'll use this to get Chandan, because Chandan is not so easy to get. So he used his influence and fame to get Chandan to serve Lord. So that is how we have to understand. Now, after describing the glories of bhakti, you know, everybody wants to see the practical examples, right? Example batao na, kisne kiya aisa? Narada says, why to speak about somebody else? I am the example. Just see, I'll tell you my own story. I'll tell you the power of bhakti. And then he tells about his own life, own past life. Who was he in his past life? And that is another section, you know, which is a very, very beautiful, very, very interesting section. where Narad Muni himself tells how I came to Krishna consciousness. Everybody likes to tell, मैं कैसे भक्ति में आया? Narad Muni is telling, there is no cause for pure devotional service other than the mercy of devotees. That's all. We are made up of mercy of devotees. If somebody says, I became devotee on my own, no. मैं तो book पढ़ के devotee बन गया है. कोई devotee ने मेरे को कुछ नहीं किया. Who gave you the book? So without mercy of devotees, and even if somebody gets the book, to develop a desire to read that book comes because in the past life we must have received mercy of devotees. That is the story of Narad Muni all about. So Narad Muni, who was he in this last to last life? Anybody knows? Last life he was a son of a maid servant. Who was in his last to last life?
He was a Gandharva.
Gandharva, and his name was Upbarahana. So Gandharvas means they are very beautiful and they are very good singers. So naturally he was always surrounded by young beautiful apsaras, and one day he was called for a kirtan program. Whenever kirtan is there, good singers are called. So he went with all these ladies, apsaras, and he started singing Bollywood songs. That's what Prabhupada writes. He started singing Bollywood songs. That means he started glorifying the material beauty. And then Prajapatis, they said, oh, you are behaving like a Shudra, you become a Shudra. And that's how he became the son of this maid servant. It's so very interesting. The name of this maid servant is also not mentioned. Kashyashchan, koi to dasi ka putra tha. So we'll recite this verse. Aham puratit bhave bhavam mune.
Puratit bhave bhavam mune.
Dasya sukashyashana vedavadinam. Nirupito balaka eva yoginam.
Nirupito balaka eva yoginam.
Shroshane pravrish nirvivikshatam.
Praushe nirvivikshatam.
Translation.
So, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maid servant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Hare Krishna.
Aham Puratita, in the last millennium. It's so very wonderful. We don't even remember what we ate last night. Narad Muni is remembering his last millennium. Last millennium, it is described that in the last to last millennium, these 4 Bhakti Vedantists who came, who are they? They were the 4 sons of Brahma. And they became the Bhakti Vedantists. Vallabhacharya writes this in the commentary. Aham Purati, पिछले kalpa का story है ये. In every kalpa, in every day, all these, the sons, they change. Different personalities, they appear as sons of Brahma. So in the last kalpa, he was the son of a maid servant, and these 4 people, they appeared there. So who was he? Aham Purati bhave abhavam mune. I was born as a son of a maid servant. Dasyastu kashyashchana, some maid servant. Not even the name is also not mentioned. Dasya, I was engaged in service of. My mother was engaged in service of Brahmanas. Nirupito balaka eva yoginam. And one time these Bhakti Vedantis, they came there. And when they were living together in the Shushrushane Pravrishi. Pravrishi means in the 4 months of the rainy season. That means Chaturmas. In the Chaturmas, the sages, the sadhus, they don't travel. So they stayed at the home of this maid servant, and she was serving them. And because I was the only son, so I was also helping my mother. So I was assisting my mother. Prabhupada writes a very important line, the first line. The wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with devotional service to the Lord is being described herein by Narad Muni. That is a wonder of an atmosphere. Who was Narad Muni? He was a son of insignificant parentage. Prabhupada writes he had two disqualifications: insignificant parentage and not properly educated. But because he was completely engaged in service of the Lord, he became an immortal sage. That is the power of devotional service. So there are no hindrances. Anybody can practice bhakti. What is the exact word which is used for this? There are no hindrances in the practice of Krishna consciousness. The definition of pure devotional service. Anybody can do. That is called as apratihata. Uninterrupted by any conditions of this life, this world. Whoever you are, you can practice bhakti. Nalam dvijatvam devatvam rishitvam va suratmaja prinanayam kundasya navrittam navahugyata nadanam natapo natijya nasaucham navratanicha. All these material qualifications don't qualify one to worship the Supreme Lord. Even if you have dvija, you have Brahminical qualities, you are a rishi. But nalam dvijatvam devatvam rishitvam na bahugyata. Even if you are a learned person, even if you are a charitable person, na danam, if you are an austere person, all these are not the qualifications to serve Krishna. Priyate amalaya bhaktya. Lord is pleased only by devotional service. That's all. What was the power of Ugrasena? What was the age of Dhruva? What was the beauty of Kubja? What was the wealth of Sudama? But Krishna was pleased by them. So, Prabhupada writes after a few lines. From the personal example of Narad Muni in his previous birth, it is clear that service of the Lord begins with the service of Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. Now, this is a verse. Anybody knows the verse which Prabhupada is paraphrasing here from Padma Puran? This is a verse. Lord Shiva is telling this to Parvati. Very famous Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnu Aradhanam Karam Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. That's what Prabhupada is paraphrasing here. So unless one serves the devotees, one cannot get perfection. However learned you are, however aristocratic or however powerful you are, unless you become humble enough to serve the devotees, you may get all the knowledge. You may learn all the verses. You may be able to speak eloquently, but you'll not be able to please the Lord. All that knowledge will remain in the head only. It will not become realization unless you serve the devotees, because Krishna reciprocates only when he sees that, oh, this person is serving my devotee. He's not interested in anything else. You cannot impress the Lord with anything. We can impress somebody if that person doesn't have what we have, right? But Lord has best of everything. How can you impress the Lord? We struggle to do some great thing, but Lord does it without any endeavor. All his Shaktis are working. Lord is pleased only when you serve his devotees. Yat sevaya bhagavataha kutasthasya madvidisha Ratiraso bhavet tivra padayor vyasanardana. Only by service to the great souls, this knowledge becomes realization. So Prabhupada writes, one should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord and engage in his service. Such a spiritual master is transparent via medium. Prabhupada would give an example of transparent via medium. Anybody remembers the example Prabhupada would give? That is, spiritual master is a transparent via medium. He doesn't add anything, he doesn't subtract anything. He gives the example of a person. He gives the example of postal peon. He doesn't add anything, doesn't subtract anything. He's just a via medium. जो भी आ रहा है वो just deliver कर रहा है.
Sorry, Prabhuji, I didn't catch the word. What did you say?
He's
Who's
a
a biomed-
postal peon. Prabhupada would
Okay,
give the
okay.
example of a postal peon.
Okay.
He may receive 1 crore rupees, but he will not add anything. He will not take out anything. Just deliver as it is. So Prabhupada writes, the utilization of a human energies in the service of the Lord is a progressive path of salvation. Whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord. It is a very interesting statement. Whole cosmic creation becomes at once identical with the Lord as soon as service in relationship with the Lord is rendered. Can anyone explain what does this mean? The whole cosmic creation becomes identical with the Lord. What does it mean?
Merges with the Lord.
No.
You will get very encouraging results from all people around you. The environment is very conducive for your devotional service. So this may happen.
Okay.
The cosmic creation, basically, once you engage in the service of the Lord, the cosmic creation also becomes as spiritualized as the Lord.
Okay, yes, that is the closest. Yes. So what does it mean? That means as soon as one starts serving the Lord, he sees everything in relationship with the Lord. So this entire universe becomes identical with the Lord, means one understands that everything has come from the Supreme Lord. Everything is created by the Supreme Lord, and therefore everything should be utilized in service of the Lord. What is this principle called? Everything should be utilized in service of the Lord.
Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya. Yes, So that's what Prabhupada writes here. As soon as we start serving the Lord, we see everything in relationship with the Lord. I will use everything. Why should I give up anything? The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything to glorify the Lord. And therefore, under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into spiritual abode. So, we hear in the 7th canto this story of Narad Muni acting as an Upvarana. It is so very, difficult to tell our own faults to our, just imagine this situation. Narad Muni is in front of his disciple and he is telling, "Main batata hu pehle main kya kya karta tha." Can you imagine? Who will do that? It requires such a humble heart. He is telling, I was such a womanizer and I was attracted to material life. It is very difficult to do it. But Narad Muni, he is not thinking about his own image. He is thinking, how can I bring this personality close to Krishna? That's why he is not ashamed to tell what I was doing in the past. Bhagavatam describes so many mistakes of the great souls. Can anybody tell me what are the various mistakes of great souls described in Bhagavatam? First is the story of Upvarana. He was, not practicing, not properly following the etiquettes. He was in association of women and in singing all the materialistic songs. Any other
Bharat
personality?
Maharaj, he fell in love with the deer. He became enamored by a deer and fell down from his position of Mahabharata.
Okay, that was not a very gross mistake. That was actually, he was doing some social service and then he got deviated. Any other example where a person actually did a mistake?
Ajamila.
Mangal Thakur.
Okay, we hear about Ajamil. Some great personalities.
Bilwa Mangal Thakur.
Bil Mangal Thakur. Okay. Any other example? In Bhagavatam? Nalkuvar and Manigriv, yes, that is described. Any other example?
Brahmaji.
Brahmaji getting attracted to his own daughter, greatest personality of the universe, getting attracted to his own daughter. Any other?
Indra.
Mrugari.
Indra. Yeah,
Mrugari.
Mrugari
The moon god.
Moon god, yes, kidnapped the wife of his spiritual master only. Okay. And who else?
Daksha.
Daksha, yes, criticizing and cursing Lord Shiva and then cursing Narada, yes. Any other?
Yayati Maharaj.
Chitraketu, yes, loved
yes.
Lord Shiva. Yayati Maharaj, yes. Lord Shiva himself getting bewildered by Mohini Murti, So, so many stories come in Bhagavatam. These great souls, they allowed their stories to be discussed for future generations. Can you imagine throughout the history and future, everybody was they are not concerned with their image. They are concerned with the welfare of people in general. Can you imagine when Shukdev is telling this story of Upbarana to Parikshit Maharaj? Narad Muni is sitting in the audience. He is also listening his own story. He was sitting silently. And he is not getting uncomfortable. अरे क्या मेरे बारे में मेरे सामने ही बोल रहा है, ये गड़बड़ किया मैंने last life. No. He is not concerned about his own image. He is peaceful. He is happy. When Lord Shiva was bewildered by Mohini Murti, anybody knows what was the reaction of Lord Shiva when he again met Parvati after she was bewildered by Mohini Murti?
He was not embarrassed actually.
He was not embarrassed, yes. He spoke something more. He said, just see the glorious position of my Lord. He can even bewilder me. He's the most sober personality, Lord Shiva. So he is saying, just see the glorious position of my Lord. So therefore, when we hear such things mentioned in Bhagavatam, we should understand that we should not minimize their position. These stories are not to minimize the position of these personalities. These stories are there so that we can learn lesson. So we'll continue. Now, Narad Muni, he continues. What happened further? Oh, sorry. Te mayyapeta kilacha palerbhake.
Te mayyapeta kilacha
Dante dhritakrirnake anuvartini. Chakruho kripam yadyapi tulya darshanah. Shushroshamane munayo alpabhashini.
Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required.
Okay, so now in this verses, the 14 stages of bhakti, which we discussed in the second chapter, 1 to 16 to 20. The 14 stages of bhakti are described, starting from, what was the first step? The first step of the 14.
Sadhu Padashraya.
No.
Satam Kripa.
Satam Kripa. You know, the first thing is Satam Kripa. So these now verses describe the various stages of bhakti. So in this 24th verse, 4 stages are described: Satam Kripa, Mahat Seva, Shraddha, and Guru Padashrayah. You know, so it all begins with Satam Kripa. We cannot get bhakti unless we are given bhakti. Unless some devotee shows mercy, we cannot get bhakti. Satam Kripa. So these devotees, these Bhaktivedantis, they bestowed their mercy, Satam Kripa. And then Narad Muni engaged in Mahat Seva. And because he served these Bhaktivedantis, he developed Shraddha. And then he took shelter of these Bhaktivedantis even more. So what are the qualities of Narad Muni? Narad Muni has had few qualities. Temai apeta khila cha apale arbhake. I was a small boy. I had not undergone any of the, purificatory processes. I was a small boy, but Dante, first quality is I was sense controlled. Second, Dhrita Kridanake, I was not interested in sports. Third, Anuvartini, obedient. Fourth, Alpabhashini, I was not a talkative child. I was not speaking more than required. So these are the 4 qualities of Narad Muni which are mentioned. Dante, Adhrita Kridanake, Anuvartini, and Alpabhashini. And then, what are the, so his Dhrita Kridanake, he was not interested in sports. Generally, children, they are interested in playing. Just like it is described about Uddhava, it is described about Parikshit. They would both play with the dolls of Krishna. Aajkal ulta ho gaya. Children, they play with Superman and Barbie doll and He-Man doll. But Parikshit was playing with the dolls of Krishna. Of course, not devotee kids. They play with dolls of Krishna only. So this child, this Narad Muni, was not interested in any playing. So these are the 4 qualities of Narad Muni. What are the qualities of Bhaktivedantis? 2 qualities. Chakru Kripa. So first is Satam Kripa. They gave mercy. And second, they did not discriminate. Why they gave bhakti to Narad Muni? Why they gave kripa to small child? They didn't discriminate. They were tulya darshanaha. They were having impartial nature. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, their first show of mercy did not depend on the good qualities of Narada. Because one should not think because this small boy had all these qualities, that's why these devotees, they gave mercy. No. Not because of that. First, they gave their mercy. And of course, Narad Muni also had these qualities. So the first show of mercy did not depend on the good qualities of Narad and the respect which Narad gave to these devotees. Rather, Chakravarti Thakur writes, he developed these good qualities by their mercy. It is the other way around. It is not that they gave mercy because Narad Muni had these qualities. Narad Muni developed these qualities because they gave mercy. Chakru Kripa and Tulya Darshana. So there are 2 types of mercy, Chakravarti Thakur writes. First mercy is, somebody can give mercy when they see some good qualities. And second type of mercy is not affected by the material qualities. So the mercy which these Bhaktivedantis gave to Narad Muni was of the first type. They were not affected by the material qualities. Oh, sorry, second type. They were not affected by the material qualities. They gave mercy and then he developed good qualities. So that is what is described here. So Prabhupada writes, the Vedantavadis or the followers of the Vedas indicate the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord. Such Vedantavadis or Bhaktivedantas are impartial in distributing the knowledge. To them, no one is enemy or friend. No one is educated, uneducated. No one is specially favorable or unfavorable. The Bhaktivedantas see that people in general are wasting time in false, sensuous things. Their business is to get the ignorant mass of people to reestablish the lost relationship with the Supreme Lord. By such endeavor, even the most forgotten soul is roused up to the sense of spiritual knowledge. And that's what happened with this small child Narad Muni. Somebody can read the purport from The Irresponsible Life of Sense Enjoyment from here.
The irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the children of the followers of the Varna Ashram system. A boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success in being liberated from the material bondage. This is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection without being
Prabhupada speaks a very, very important line here. Yes, continue.
Without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient, no one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead.
Very, very important and powerful statement Prabhupada is writing here. Three things are required without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient. No one can follow the instructions of spiritual master. And without doing so, no one can go back to Godhead. So Narad Muni had all these qualities. He was Dante, he was Dhritakridanake, that means disciplined, and Anuvartini, he was obedient. So therefore, Narad Muni, he developed all these qualities because he was given mercy of the Bhaktivedantis. It was not the other way around. The Bhaktivedantis, they didn't give mercy because Narad Muni had these qualities. No. They gave mercy, and that's why this small child developed good qualities. So Satam Kripa, then he engaged in service, then his Shraddha increased, and then he took shelter, Guru Pada Ashraya. And then what happened in the next verse? Another very, very powerful, very famous verse. Uchishtalepan anumodato dvijaihi sakritsma bhunje tadapastakil vishaihi evam pravrittasya vishuddha chetasas tadharma evatma ruchi prajayate.
Once only by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me.
So in this one verse, he has reached from the stage of bhajan kriya to ruchi. So from Satam Kripa to Guru Padashraya in one verse, 24th. In 25th verse, from Bhajan Kriya to Ruchi. Bhajaneshu Spriha, basically. First comes Bhajaneshu Spriha. Spriha means the desire. Chanting करने का मन करना भी बहुत बड़ा चीज है. Bhajaneshu Spriha. Spriha means the desire. So from bhajaneshu spriha to ruchi, it is described here. How it happened? Uchishta lepan. I once took their remnants by their permission. Anumodito dvijai. This is very important. They allowed their remnants to be taken. That's how great souls are merciful. They give their blessings. I was just reading this book, Miracle at Second Avenue. And there, Mukund Maharaj writes that once they were very young in Krishna, new in Krishna consciousness. Of course, they were initiated, but they didn't know the various details and technicalities on how one should be surrendered and what is the importance of Mahaprasad. So once, this Mukund Maharaj, he gave some dates. Yes, he gave dates to Prabhupada, very nice big dates. And Prabhupada, he took a bite and he gave back to Mukund Maharaj. So he was thinking, oh, yes, this date has saliva of Swamiji, what should we do? So then anyhow, he thought, this is what Swamiji is giving me. So he ate it, but still it was big enough. 1/3 was still remaining. So he gave back to Prabhupada. Because they were young in Krishna consciousness. They didn't know what to do at what time, So then later he was talking to Kirtananand Maharaj. And then Kirtananand Maharaj told him that, he was giving you his mercy. That's the greatest benediction, to get remnants of a pure devotee. So as Chaitanya Charitamrita also describes, Bhaktapada Dhulya, Bhaktapada Jala, Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha, Eitina Mahabal. The water which has washed the lotus feet of the devotees, the dust of the feet of the devotees, and the remnants of the Lord's devotees. They are very, very powerful to advance in Krishna consciousness. Of course, it should be done in right consciousness. So Narad Muni, as a small child, he took the remnants. Out of his mercy, the devotees, they gave their remnants. Uchishta lepan anumodito, anumodan, and sakrit. Sakrit means immediately. What's the meaning? Prabhupada translates sakrit once, only once. Ek baar hi liya. Sakrit sma bhunje. Bhunje means, in Hindi bolte hain bhunj diya, bhoon diya. What happened? All the sins, they were burnt away. They were eradicated. Apast kil bishai. As it is described, Tattenu kampam sushamikshmano bhunjanu evatma kritam. Bhunjanu, the word comes there also. Bhunjanu. Bhunjanu means all the sinful reactions, they get roasted away. The seeds of sinful reaction, they are roasted. They don't fructify. So he took remnants once, and all the sins were eradicated. Anartha nivritti, everything, all anartha nivritti done. And then evam pravrittasya vishuddha chetasa, he became purified. I became purified in the heart. Then tad dharma, the very nature of devotional service, became ruchi. Ruchi means attractive. So that's how in one verse he came up to ruchi. So we'll stop here. I'll have to leave for something. So we'll continue from here. Very nice purport. Prabhupada writes, Hare Krishna. So I think in the next class, we'll be having the test also for chapter 3. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, when you will tell us the marks of the 2 tests so that we can improve our writing?
Marks मिल जाएगा. आप लोग पढ़ते रहिए.
हम तो पढ़ेंगे प्रभुजी.
I'll give you. Yeah. I have not checked so far. Next week, I think I'll check the chapter 1. Let's see. I'll bring if possible.
Vancha kalpataru bhyascha.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Prabhupada ki
Srila
jai,
Prabhupada
Granthaj
ki jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Tanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.